What if the US dollar lost its global crown tomorrow? Imagine waking up and suddenly the world's most trusted currency is no longer the glue holding international trade together. For almost 80 years, the greenback has been a king of global finance. It decides how oil is priced and how debt is repaid, and even how much your groceries cost at the supermarket. But what if all of that collapsed overnight? What if the world suddenly said, no more dollar, we're moving on? In this video, we'll break down how the dollar got here, what could cause it fall, and the global shockwaves, and most importantly, what it means for South Africa and for your wallet. Stick with me, because the story gets wilder the deeper we go.
The US dollar isn't just American money. It's the world's reserve currency. Right now, around 60% of the world's foreign exchange reserves are held in dollars. Almost 80% of international trade invoices, from oil shipments to grain deliveries, are priced in dollars. Think about it like this. When South Africa buys oil from Saudi Arabia, it doesn't pay in rand. It pays in dollars. When Argentina borrows money from the IMF, it doesn't borrow in pesos. It borrows in dollars. This makes the dollar like oxygen in the global economy. You don't always see it, but without it, nothing functions. Every bank, every government, and every corporation relies on having access to dollars. And that's why losing that status would be such a massive shock. It wouldn't just be an American problem. It would be everyone's problem. Petrol prices, the cost of bread, even your monthly bank loan, all of them would change. But here's the twist. The dollar's dominance is already slipping. Other countries are plotting alternatives, and history shows no currency rules forever. So what could actually dethrone the dollar? Let's look at three major triggers. Trigger 1, BRICS and new currencies. The BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has been loudly discussing creating a new global currency. Some suggest it could even be backed by gold. If that ever takes off and oil exporters or major economies adopt it, the dollar's global market share could fall hard. Trigger 2, U.S. debt. America is sitting on a mountain of debt, more than $35 trillion. Every second, the U.S. government borrows more just to keep the lights on. At some point, if investors lose confidence in Washington's ability to pay, the dollar could weaken dramatically. Think of it as trust. If that trust breaks, no amount of history can save the greenback. Trigger 3, politics and sanctions. When the U.S. froze Russian assets and blocked dollar payments, other nations took note. They realized, wait a second, if America doesn't like us, it can lock us out of the global system. That fear alone has pushed many countries to explore alternatives like the Chinese yuan or even cryptocurrency. Each of these triggers is powerful on its own. But if two or three collide, debt, BRICS, sanctions, the fall of the dollar could come much faster than most expect. But let's get real. What would the world look like the day after the dollar's collapse? The first shock would be energy. Right now, oil and gas are almost always priced in dollars. If the world suddenly switched to pricing oil in yuan, euros, or a BRICS currency, the system would be thrown into chaos. Energy prices would spike, and that would ripple through everything. Transport, food, manufacturing, you name it. Next, the financial markets. Global investors would dump U.S. Treasury bonds, the safest assets in the world right now. Stock markets would tank as money flowed into alternatives like gold, silver, and even Bitcoin. Imagine a gold price that doesn't just inch up, but doubles or triples in months. Imagine Bitcoin going from a side bet to a main global currency competitor. And don't forget the psychological effect. People trust the dollar because it feels unshakable. If that illusion is broken, fear will spread. And fear moves markets faster than anything else. But here's the part that really matters. The impact on emerging markets like South Africa. For South Africa, the ripple effect would hit in two ways. First, the bad news. A weaker dollar means a volatile rand. Imports, food, fuel, electronics, would become more expensive overnight. Inflation would spike, hitting ordinary South Africans hardest. Think of petrol suddenly jumping in price, and with it, the cost of every single product in the supermarket. Second, the good news. South Africa's biggest exports, gold, platinum, and other commodities, would likely surge in value. Mining companies would gain, exporters would celebrate, and the government would suddenly collect more tax. But let's be honest, the benefits would take time, while the pain at the till would hit instantly. So, what would ordinary people do? Some would move their money into gold, others into crypto. Others might just stash foreign currency, afraid the rand could tumble. Trust in the financial system would be shaken. And that raises the biggest question. Could South Africans rely on the rand, or would we all start looking for something else to protect our savings? Now let's step back and look at history. This dollar isn't the first global reserve currency, and it won't be the last. Go back 400 years, and the world's trade was dominated by the Dutch guilder. The Netherlands controlled global shipping, and their currency powered international commerce. But as the Dutch Empire weakened and wars drained their economy, the guilder lost its shine. Then came the British pound sterling. For almost 200 years, London was the world's financial center. The pound ruled trade, reserves, and banking across the globe. But World War I, World War II, and Britain's heavy debts chipped away at that dominance. By 1945, the U.S. economy was bigger, stronger, and more trusted. The dollar stepped in, and the pound slowly faded. Here's the pattern. Every reserve currency falls when its empire stretches too far, its debts grow too heavy, or a stronger rival rises. The Dutch, the British, both thought their currencies would last forever. They didn't. And here's the chilling thought. America today looks eerily similar. Massive debt, military commitments all over the world, a rising competitor in China, even discussions of new gold-backed systems. History tells us that reserve currencies don't collapse in a single day. But when change comes, it feels sudden. One day, the old order looks invincible. The next, it's gone. The question is, will the dollar break that cycle or repeat it? Here's the kicker. The dollar isn't just going to roll over and die. It's still backed by the world's largest economy, the deepest financial markets, and the most powerful military. The euro tried to challenge it, and failed. The yuan is growing, but it's not fully trusted. Even gold and crypto have limitations. So yes, the dollar is cracked, but it's not broken. Not yet. Still, history tells us one thing. No reserve currency lasts forever. The pound sterling ruled the world for centuries, until it didn't. The same could happen to the dollar. The only question is when. So what if the dollar lost its crown? You'd feel it in petrol prices, in groceries, in savings, and in the strength of the rand. Some would win, most would lose, and the world would enter a brand new financial order. Would you trust gold, crypto, or even a BRICS currency? Or do you still believe the dollar will hold its throne? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them. And don't miss tomorrow's video. What if Eskom collapsed completely? South Africa's power at risk.